There's still something within this person that just can't let go of you. It might not be obvious, but it's there, hidden away like a closely guarded secret. This longing, which they try to disguise, is still present. It hasn't gone away. The heart hasn't forgotten, even if the mouth doesn't say it. They try to convince themselves that they've moved on. They pretend not to notice, distract themselves, but something about you is still missed. The absence that remains doesn't just fade away no matter how hard they try to hide it. You might not notice, but there's something there, in the space between silence and missing words. What was shared is still kept safe, and what was left unsaid hangs in the air. Sometimes they look at you, and it's as if they're about to speak, but pride, fear, or even shame stops them from admitting it. But deep down, inside, the longing still speaks, still pulses, and you feel it, even if it's not said out loud. Do you realize this, or do you still not? You sense, perhaps without knowing, that there's something unsaid, something hidden and tucked away, something that still beats inside this person, even though they try to hide it. This longing, it hasn't disappeared. No matter how much this person pretends to have moved on, what was lived and what remains, what was left behind, is still there, quiet, silent, but present. Have you noticed this? Or do you still not? There's a calm on the outside, but an internal turmoil that no one can see. The words are trapped. The body forces itself to act as if nothing happened, but inside, the heart doesn't lie. The feeling that still exists hasn't vanished. It might be suppressed, but it's there, stored away deep down, where only those with true sight can perceive it. And this is where things get intense, because most of the time what this person really wants is to keep ignoring it, to pretend they don't feel anything, to act as if they've moved on, and maybe they've even tried to forget you for real. But the longing never completely disappears. It stays quietly in some corner of the soul, waiting for the right moment to return. It sits there waiting to be noticed, and it feeds on this time-distance denial. No matter how much time passes, the longing will always find a way to make its presence known. Have you noticed? I'm sure you have. Even if it wasn't obvious, something within you feels it. Something you can't quite explain, but it's there. The sense that this person is still tied to something that once was, that they are still holding on to what hasn't really left. Because even if they try not to see it, the truth is that something is still missing, and the longing will remain pulsing until something inside this person decides to let it go. And if you're reading this now, I can assure you that this person doesn't know whether they really want to say goodbye to that longing. This longing is heavy. It's not just a memory, it's not just nostalgia. It carries the weight of a feeling that, no matter how much it's denied, cannot be erased. Because feelings have this ability. They can be stifled, suffocated, but they never truly disappear. They linger somewhere, waiting for the moment to be released. And this is where the struggle begins, because this person tries but can't. They can't help but feel, even when they try to trick themselves. They tell the world that everything is fine, that they've moved on, that they've moved forward, but deep down they know it's not really like that. They know the longing is there, lurking, waiting to be felt again. And maybe they're afraid to admit it. Maybe they're afraid to allow themselves to feel that absence, to acknowledge that the longing never left. And what about you? Have you noticed this? Have you ever felt that there's something unresolved there? Something that hasn't been said yet, something that's yet to be experienced? Have you noticed the way this person looks at you, or how the silence between you seems to speak louder than any words? It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but it's there. This person tries to disguise it, but can't erase their feelings. I know that in some way you perceive it too, because you feel it even if you don't want to. You feel the longing that this person tries to hide. And I'm not talking about a love that has ended. I'm talking about something deeper, something that goes beyond the simple desire to be near. I'm talking about a longing that is full of layers, of history, of moments that are etched in the heart, and that this person still carries, even if secretly. And the truth, the purest truth that exists, is that no one can hide from themselves what they truly feel. They can try. They can pretend it doesn't exist, but the heart doesn't deceive. It knows what it feels. It knows what it holds. And no matter how much this person wants to push you away, they will continue to miss something they can no longer have. Something that was profound, something that was genuine, something that still echoes even in silence. Do you know what's even more curious? It's that this person, despite everything, still hopes that you will notice, hopes that you will understand. It's not something obvious, it's not something that will be clearly exposed, but deep down there's an expectation, a silent hope that maybe you feel the same longing, that maybe you notice what remains, and who knows, take the initiative to break the silence and make room for what hasn't been said, what still needs to be said. It's strange how hearts work, isn't it? We try to hide what we feel, pretending everything is fine, but deep down all we want is for someone to notice, for someone to truly look, for someone to see what's behind the eyes, behind the behavior. But few have the ability to perceive that, and maybe you are one of those few, the person who has that gaze, the gaze that perceives what lies beyond words. If you've ever felt this way, if you've recognized that hidden longing, then you know what I'm talking about. You understand the weight of an unspoken feeling. You know how difficult it is to carry something that can't be expressed. And if you've felt that longing, I tell you, it is alive. It's stored away, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. I know you've noticed. It's not something that goes unnoticed, because in some way the silence between you isn't empty. It's filled with everything that has gone unsaid, with everything that still needs to be said. The longing isn't just a memory, it's a part of a story that isn't over yet. And what you feel, I know that person feels it too. It may not be something they recognize, but the heart doesn't deceive. The heart knows, and deep down the longing is strong only because there's still something to be resolved, something that wasn't settled, that wasn't concluded, something that's still there in the middle of the path. Between the unspoken words and the averted gazes, there's a space that needs to be filled. And the longing, no matter how painful it is proof that something remains. Something that cannot be forgotten. Do you feel that, don't you? Even if it's hard to explain, you know there's something there, something that still exists, that still lingers. That person might try to hide it, might try to ignore it, but the longing can't be concealed. It stays there, waiting to be noticed. And you, with your sensitivity, are able to perceive it, because you feel what is real. You feel what is true. And deep down, this longing is as real as any other feeling. Now let me ask you, have you allowed yourself to feel this? Have you given yourself the chance to notice what's hidden behind that person's behavior? Or have you also tried to ignore it as if it were nothing? Have you forced yourself to move on without looking at what still exists there? What are you going to do with this awareness now? I know the temptation is to ignore it. After all, facing the longing takes courage, and maybe you convinced yourself for a while that moving on would be easier, that distancing yourself from what's in the past, from what was left unsaid, would be the less painful path. But I ask you, what are you really leaving behind? What is lost when you ignore a longing that still silently screams? It's not simple, I know. Acknowledging someone's longing is an act of vulnerability, and admitting that you still feel, no matter how much you try to hide it, requires a type of surrender that many are afraid to make. Do you feel comfortable keeping things in the realm of the unsaid, the unresolved? Is what remains truly resolved, or is it just dormant? Sometimes the longing is a whisper that we can't ignore for too long because it becomes impossible to silence. It always comes back, stronger. The truth is, you also have that longing within you. You might not admit it now, but what this person still feels, you feel too. And perhaps deep down, what both of you are trying to hide is the same thing. The fear of allowing yourselves to feel, the fear of realizing that there's still something there, a connection that hasn't faded, that hasn't disappeared, no matter what happened between you. What remains is too strong to be forgotten, and that longing serves as a constant reminder of it. So, what are you going to do with this knowledge now? Will you continue to ignore this feeling, hoping it will dissipate on its own? Or will you allow it to manifest, to truly recognize what is hidden behind the silence and distance? You might be afraid to open that door, but by keeping it shut, are you not leaving something important behind? Something that deep down may still be essential to your journey. This is the point where many people get lost. They fear confronting their longing so much that they prefer to keep it buried, never acknowledging it. But longing doesn't just disappear, no. It stays there, waiting for the right moment to be noticed. And when you least expect it, it will surface, like a presence you can no longer ignore. What you feel and what this person still feels will take shape, and you will have to decide. Will you let this longing stay hidden, or will you face it head-on, with courage and perhaps even the desire to understand what it truly means for you? Do you feel the weight of this now? That invisible weight, which isn't talked about but is very much there. Do you feel how the space between you still exists? as if time hasn't erased everything? I know you feel it. You feel that longing tucked away. It's noticeable if you take the time to look, and if you acknowledge it, if you allow yourself to truly see it, something inside you will change. The longing will be recognized, and a part of you will decide whether it still has a place in your life or if it's finally time to let it go. But at the same time, when the longing is left behind, something is also lost. It's not just a memory, it's not just a story, it's a part of what was lived, of what was real. And maybe, just maybe, what you need to do now is to take a closer look at it. Set aside the barriers, the fears, and the excuses. Let what still lives inside you reveal itself. Don't get me wrong, I know it can be hard. The emotions that arise when the longing is finally acknowledged can be overwhelming, but there is strength in this process. A strength that isn't about running away, but about facing it. And only when you confront what remains, when you see the longing with honesty, do you truly understand what it means. Because deep down, longing isn't a burden. It's a mark of something significant, a mark of something that cannot be erased, yet doesn't have to keep suffocating you. This person is afraid to admit what they feel. Don't be afraid to admit it too. Don't be afraid to look inside yourself and realize what is still there. Don't be afraid to recognize the truth of what was and what still can be, because only when you finally see that can things really change. Otherwise, you'll continue to carry this weight without understanding what it truly means. Have you ever wondered what it would be like if you truly allowed yourself to face the longing for that person and your own longing without fear of being vulnerable? Would that open a new path, or would you prefer to keep everything silent? If you're reading this, something inside you is already ready to confront that truth. You just need to decide whether or not to allow yourself to see it. Now the question remains, will you continue to hide what you feel, or will you allow yourself to realize? I know the weight of that longing is here, between the unspoken words and the missed gestures. Maybe you've felt this before. Perhaps you hold something inside you too, something that's never been said yet still pulses. And maybe you, just like that person, are trying to hide the truth of what you still feel or what this longing still means to you. It's hard to face what lies within us, and even harder is acknowledging that this longing may never completely disappear. It can be suppressed, ignored, but it doesn't vanish. It lingers, in silence, waiting for the right moment to be seen. Because sometimes, the heart simply cannot move on. It carries what has been lived, what hasn't been said, what is still unresolved. And here, you find yourself at a crossroads. Will you continue to hide your longing, pushing it to the back of your soul, as if it isn't there? Or will you pause and realize what it truly means? I'm not saying you need to change everything right now, but if you allow yourself to look honestly at what's still stored inside, something will reveal itself. Something will make sense. And perhaps you'll discover that this longing doesn't have to bind you anymore. Or maybe it finally needs to be acknowledged so that the path ahead can open up. Have you ever noticed this before? Maybe unintentionally. Perhaps you've ignored it. But now, as you read these words, something stirs inside you. You begin to understand that this longing isn't just for one person. It might also be yours. And maybe, by recognizing what you feel, you'll decide to acknowledge what's right in front of you and let the longing flow. What are you going to do with this now? Will you allow yourself to notice? Will you stop denying and let what is true reveal itself? I know it can be difficult, but longing, as painful as it is also a reminder of something that was real, something that deserves to be acknowledged, not erased. The longing that this person still hides from everyone, and that you might also be hiding, isn't a bad thing. It's part of the process. It's a form of healing, of self-discovery, and when you finally see it, something inside you is freed, something transforms, and perhaps, just perhaps, you'll discover that there's so much more inside you and within this person than you both were willing to admit. Now, I want to know what you think. How do you cope with longing? Have you ever had to hide something you felt out of fear or shame? Share your reflections in the comments. I want to hear your opinion. The conversation continues, and what you have to say may help someone realize something important within themselves. And if this resonated with you, if it touched something in your heart, share this video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey with me. And let's move forward together in this reflection. Because when we allow ourselves to notice, we start to see the world and others in a different way. I invite you to join me on this path of discovery. And once again, I ask you, will you allow yourself to notice what's stored inside you? Or will you continue to hide what you truly feel?